And then we have the map loaded up, and now we see the players in the bottom left-hand corner. We have the player up 2-0 for Team MnM. It is MnM Vader. His opponent all the way across MLG Metalopolis. It is Team ZL's Terran Hope. ZL Bosan. Okay, that's not very centered. I tried. But here we go. Starting out on MLG Metalopolis, we'll see what Bosan has up his sleeve to kill a Terran player. Knowing Bosan pretty well, he does not really favor the 1-1-1 type of play. He feels it's a bit too gimmicky, and he doesn't like the way he's able to control it. So most likely going to go for a 1-rack sit span into a type of drop pressure build, possibly a ghost rush or anything like that. But all in all, you can expect pretty standard play. Now, on the other hand, I have no idea what Vader is interested in doing. As right now, just completely standard, no gates across the map, as it's not uncommon against Zergs at least for Protoss to put 2 gateways right here. Yeah, that's always fun. But it looks like chronoing out, gonna take his gateway on 13, a little bit more economical than usual, and is going to be able to send a scout out, choosing to send a scout after the gateway as opposed to the pylon, which is a little bit riskier, as the Terran player might be able to wall in time for this probe to come across the map, especially if it stops at the watchtower along the way. And he will not be able to check the gas timings if that is the case. At the same time, speaking of gas, we see a 14 gas going down for Vader and his base, while at the same time, no gas taken for ZL Bosan, so really looking towards that 1-rack fastest band I mentioned earlier. Now, the real question here is, will the probe get in to see this is most likely a 1-rack fastest band? And the answer to that question is most likely no, if Bosan chooses to make a default after starting his orbital command, in which he does. The Marines starting up, orbital command on the way, and the probe will be repelled by a very solid wall of buildings. Those are usually very good against probes. Now, Bosan scouting around the base, he's seen everything there is to see so far. He has seen the second gas timing, which is about 18-19, relatively early, which could indicate type of quick tech path, possibly Stargate, DTs. I'm not a Protoss expert, but I know this means he's probably not going to 4-gate at least. Yeah, guys going into gas very quickly. The command center going on for Bosan at the natural. He is confident that he can deal with any early stalker pressure or any of the such. Looks like the probe is swinging around, going to maybe take another glimpse and probably see the command center at this rate. The SCV just checking all the chrono boosts, seeing it go down on the cyber core, checking if the gas is being mined, and seeing when the stalker, or if there's going to be a zealot coming out of the gateway. Looks like Bosan did not in fact choose to throw down engineering bay at the natural to prevent the expansion for a little bit longer, even though there was no first zealot made. That can be really annoying to Protoss players. Right now, if there's an engineering base 75% complete, it'd be quite difficult for him to take his expansion, and there's no music. I want Terran music. Alright, well, we'll pretend the music's working. Now the SCV choosing to scout along. Looks like he's going to go take the watchtower, but soon be repelled by the stalker. Hopefully he'll pull his SCV back in time to not lose it to the stalker, but that is unlikely as the stalker does run faster. The stalker is going to catch the SCV. It's going to buy enough time for the bunker, who has it's already finished, to in fact stay that way. Looks like Bosan choosing to go with 4 racks, no gas pressure. And this is pretty strong against builds that tech up really hard. Maybe they only have a stalker, 3-4 sentries, and maybe a handful of zealots. 15-16 Marines walking across the map is going to be pretty good. Even though Metalopolis cross positions is decidedly large map, as walking all this distance with your Marines makes it kind of tough to do any damage, and especially with one well-microed stalker able to pretty much poke at the Marines without actually losing any significant damage the entire time. So like this Marine attempting to get away from the stalker, Vader will catch it. At the same time, having a probe putting down a pylon, that's a bit telling, at least to say the least. Good Protoss nowadays are having the proxy pylons in pretty much random places around the map, because who knows when you'll need to warp in something right here to counterattack, maybe if they're attacking your main or anything like that. The gas now going off Bosan about 35, which means his tech is going to be pretty severely delayed. For example, if he went quick Colossus right now, Vader would most likely get a build order win, as Colossus are pretty damn good against naked Marines. But it doesn't look like it's going that way. It looks like he's just going to get an observer out of it. Getting 2 more gateways, a pretty economical build so far. As we see, the Protoss player is, as he should be, a few probes ahead due to the chrono boost, though the incomes are most likely approximately equal. with Bosan maybe being a little bit ahead due to the fact there are 2 mules on the field right now, and those are worth about 6 SCVs each. Or, if you're any other race, probably about 18 workers each, if not more. Right now, actually, I don't know if Vader really scouted out this build, or maybe it's just what he likes to do against a Terran that fast expands, but a Robo Bay is in fact going down, and this is going to mean Colossus are coming out pretty damn quick. Which, any Marine pressure coming out of Bosan is going to be very much so ineffective, to say the least. Right now, a Marine scouting around the map. It looks like he is not queued up to scout out this proxy pylon, so it will stand for the moment. The Observer coming out for the Protoss player. He has no knowledge of what's inside Bosan's base quite yet. He has seen the expansion, he has seen a bunker, but nothing yet. He could have had another expansion here, anything else. But it looks like Bosan is severely supply blocked, 62 supply, with not a single supply depot coming down. Hopefully he will remedy that soon, otherwise he's going to get pretty far behind in production. Now finding the time to put down a supply depot. It's only 2 buttons, Mario. Pull it together. The Observer will walk in. He is controlling it, so he should not lose it. And the Marine's seen it, but the Observer backs out quickly in time to not be seen in range of that turret and picked off by the Marines. Now, seeing the large Marine count, I would expect this Colossus to be chrono boosted out pretty quickly. Maybe even choose to push out with 1 or 2 Colossus. As you see this many Marines, it looks like one of these Marines did in fact get an Observer kill. Which one is it? If I can find it in the next 5 seconds, I'll feel very accomplished, but it is unlikely I will. Alright, well that Observer did not make it out, but this Observer will make it. It's a sign of a good Protoss player, always having 2, 3, even 4 Observers on the map to make sure, instead of following the army where it can easily be scanned and picked off, maybe just lay an Observer right here, maybe another Observer right here, and then you can see anything coming out. You see drops coming out. It's very unlikely the Terran's going to scan at the exact moment your Observer's getting the needed information. Observer coming in, seeing the 3rd command center, almost finished. Looks like 1 Colossus, a few sentries, and a couple Zealots pushing out to the watchtower. Right now, Bosan doesn't have much of a defense against this. No combat shields. Stim is maybe 80% done. Stim should be finished by the time this attack comes in, but it is unlikely he will have combat shields. But +1 weapons is pretty effective against a Protoss army, especially very low on gateway units. If he's able to micro it so the Marauders are taking the brunt of the damage from the Colossus, and the Marines are doing their damage to the sentries and Zealots, then maybe he will be in a good position, but this stands to do a good amount of damage. The factory coming out will scout it out, and smartly having a pylon down with a couple warp-ins to distract the Terran player. Now coming in, swinging is 1 Colossus. It does not look like it has range. No, only range 6 right now. But these 2 Zealots are going to be cleaned up pretty quickly. But will he lose the 3rd command center? Not quite being able to repair it yet. But swinging in is the Protoss army. Looks like the Terran army choosing to engage. Force is going down. No Guardian shield. Every sentry has been taken out. And there are 2 Vikings on the field doing damage to Colossus. But the entire bio has been decimated. But there are barely any Stalkers left to combat these Vikings. So it looks like the armies will pretty evenly trade. If we go into the units lost tab, we see the Protoss player actually a much more offensive army in that case. Bio units are easily replaced, but those Colossi are not. Smartly pulling the last one back so he can keep it there. But losing 1 Colossus, that is not an especially successful attack, knowing that Bosan now has his 3rd base pretty much up and about ready to start running, or at least producing SCVs, while the Protoss player has yet to even attempt to take a 3rd base. Now we see a probe coming out, going to be making that 3rd base, along with 2 forges at the front, but he's already a little bit behind on upgrades, with +1 armor coming on the way, 2 starports for Bosan, so he can effectively produce Vikings and medevacs at the same time, allowing him to do drop play, while simultaneously countering the Colossus that are going to come across the field. Looks like a Twilight Council is coming down, probably going to resurge Blink pretty soon to be able to attack any drops coming in and effectively counter them, as Protoss players in this stage of the game are pretty vulnerable to drops. As you see, there's obviously no cannons. Choosing to get charged out of that, I guess that is his choice. Obviously, it's pretty much a stylistic choice. Some players like to be active on the map with their Blink Stalkers, really looking around for those drops, but right now he feels like he's pretty safe against drops. He's got pylons scouting out every corner of the map. This is actually some pretty sick pylon spread. These are going to be taken out pretty easily, but he's far ahead in supply. He's not nearly upside down. Looks like with a couple more Zealots warping, he's going to even up with Bosan. Though Bosan right now does have a Harvester. Well, he's equal in Harvesters, but he's already up on 1 basis. The Nexus is 75% complete here. Bosan already has been using the mules off this what was a full energy command center. His gases are going down in his 3rd, and he's slightly ahead in the economy right now. So a pretty good position for Bosan. But at the same time, in the Protoss base, we see a Templar Archives being thrown down, with upgrades being chrono boosted out. He's really looking to catch up on upgrades. But at this point, Bosan has successfully thrown down his armory and is researching 2 upgrades at once. +2 out of 1 engineering bay, and +1 armor out of the and soon to be +2, I'd imagine, as soon as it finishes. More Vikings being produced by the Terran player. He's going to be coming up to 8 pretty soon. A lot of Marauders on the way at the same time. Does he have any vision? He is doing a drop in the main. We see Colossi clean that up pretty handily, and it does go down. It didn't do much damage. Workers killed 1. It looks like the scouting worker for each player has been successfully killed off, with no other economic damage being done to either player so far this game. The third base is up with a couple more gateways warping in for the Protoss player. He does have a few probes, but is not nearly saturated yet. He's looking to have 65, 70 probes to saturate his 3 bases, and maybe a few more as he moves up to 4. This observer placement is pretty smart. He sees any drops coming out. He's able to warp in if he really wants, but it looks like Bosan's comfortable to move out right now. Storm is only halfway finished, with Blink a third of the way on the way. If he does choose to move into the third base, it will be tough for the Protoss player, though. He does have a strong army. If we're looking at army supply, the Protoss player is a little bit behind, but his units are much more cost efficient. If he's able to get these Vikings into a good position to pick off a few Colossus, of which there are only 2, before the Terran player moves in, before his Battle Force moves in, he will be in a great position to clean up this army. But Charge is finished. He does have +1/+1 upgrade, so this will be an even upgrade fight. A couple High Templar coming in. This will tip off Bosan the fact that there might be Storm on the way. This is a very Zealot-heavy army right now, so he's going to be looking to get Ghosts out. And speaking of Ghosts, I believe the Ghost Academy just finished. Yes, Mobius Reactor is on the way to get those extra energy for the Ghosts out pretty quickly. 1 Viking being picked off by the Blink Stalkers. It was in the red, so in easy pickings for them. But it looks like Bosan not choosing to move in against this army smartly. The Colossi are kept back to be easily defended by the Vikings, by the Stalkers, and at the same time, Zealots being warped into the third. Bosan quickly pulling back, only going to lose 1 SCV right now, it looks like. A few Bioforces being stemmed up will clean up these pretty handily. The Observer really coming into play again, knowing where Bosan's army, knowing that he's safe right here, and a little bit safer to make a bunch of probes, and maybe not spend every single warp in on his 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 gateways, I believe, that he has right now. He could even afford to get maybe a couple more as he postures to take its 4th base. Now getting Colossi range, an interesting choice since he is not producing any more Colossus out of this Robo Bay. But I guess it will make these 2 Colossus even the more effective, even though there are only 7 Vikings on the map right now. Looks like 5 Ghosts in production for Zeo Bosan. This will be an effective counter to the 3 High Templar on the map right now. He will be able to blanket this entire army with EMPs and ideally snipe off a couple of the Templar at the same time. 2-2 is finishing up at about the same time for each player. 2-2 army just about finished for the Terran player, while 2-2 is about 90% complete for the Protoss player. At the same time, they're both taking their thirds. Bosan landing in orbital command, while at the same time a Nexus is halfway warped in with pylons and cannons there to support it. Looks like we have a maxed army for Bosan moving out with 5 Ghosts, 10 Vikings, and 6 Benevacs, along with the Marine Marauder Ball. Almost equal worker counts, so these armies are going to be pretty much identical. Identical upgrades. It's all going to come down to control. 5 Ghosts moving in, landing 1 EMP in the center of a bunch of Zealots, but then backing off. He doesn't really want to engage this army quite yet. Controlling those Ghosts pretty carefully. You do not want to be losing those before the battle joins. But it's like continually scanning the Protoss army, making sure he knows where it is. At the same time, getting 3-3 upgrades for his army as he moves across the map. He's not looking to end the game here. He's just looking to get ahead, get more ahead. Looks like Zealots were warped into the 4th phase by the Potsy pylons that are still around the map. The Zealots will kill off a couple workers, then be cleaned up, and soon the Potsy pylon will be. And smartly, another observer, or it looks like that same observer, is now here to scout out any forces coming out. Looks like since he saw the Ghost production coming out, more Colossus coming out for the Protoss player, really transitioning well here, knowing that the amount of Ghosts on the field is going to negate pretty handily the amount of High Templar he has. This is a pretty shield-heavy army, to say the least. With +3 weapons on the way, it's going to be very strong, but once those shields are gone, it's only going to be armor, and pretty much half their effectiveness. More gateways on the way, realizing he has a huge amount of money, does the Protoss player Vader, and he's going to be looking to spend that as soon as possible. He's got that money amount of probes, 70 right now, but it looks like a lot of work is going down. Zealot weapons in each base, a few more coming into the natural. Looks like he cleaned out the third, down to 51 workers is Zeo Bosan, so he does have a very strong army right now, considering the fact he has 20 less workers in equal supply. A Dark Shrine being created in the middle of the main base for Vader. He's going to be looking to do a little bit of DTRS, which is very tough to deal with if you don't have bunkers and turrets and or planetary fortresses at each base. A 5th base is looking to be taken by Vader, along with 3 more gateways being thrown out. He's looking to be able to trade armies and then rematch with a huge army swelling in, to push way before the Protoss player can even think about producing even many more units. One drop going out and might be able to clean up the third, as there are going to be no warp-ins since the Protoss player is in fact maxed. Looks like 3-3 for both player coming up. 3-3 will be finished for Boson a bit before. +3 weapons is finished for the Protoss